Hi everybody. I was having a conversation with a bunch of folks online on the Okazu Discord, and it occurred to me that I very rarely recommend something. And you all know why, probably because I know that my recommendations are maybe not to your taste and I don't know what you like. And even when somebody says to me, well, I really like this series, it doesn't really mean that they're going to like this relatively similar series. I know that I don't always like the series just because they're kind of the same as something else. So I decided to go through my Okazu recommendations and see if I ever say, I recommend this, period. And it turns out I almost never do that. Usually I say something like, I recommend it if you're looking for horror or you're looking for slice of life or something like that. And so after going through 4,000 posts, I've come up with just about a little under a dozen things that I've said, I recommend this. And of these dozen, actually only about 2 of them are like, I just recommend this across the board. Anybody could watch it. You would love it for anything. So I thought I would mention them today, and the reason I'm doing that is not because I'm trying to recommend it to you, but I'm practicing video editing. So today we're going to do a video specifically so I can fuck around with it. To make it a little easier to understand what I'm talking about, I'm going to be doing some overlays with covers and that sort of thing, and that's really what this is about, and I'm going to talk a little bit about my tools as well. But right now, I'm going to go through this list in the order of manga, web comics or American digital comics, anime, visual novels, and then a few things that are just non-Yuri that I just said you would like this or you should definitely see this or I recommend it. To begin with, I have one Japanese manga of current Yuri that I just said flat out, I recommend this. What I was really saying was I recommend it for licensing. I hope the publishing companies saw that and I will definitely write them again. It's called Tsuki to Supin, which is a pun on Ski to Suppan, which is like moon, like the moon and turtles. It's like the way we say, it's like the difference between chalk and cheese. So the difference between the moon and turtles. Tsuki to Suppan. So it's Tsuki to Supin, and it's just about 2 women who are adults who have an ongoing relationship. Nothing happens. Absolutely nothing happens in this entire series. It's literally just about the 2 of them being completely different people and still being in love. Very, very sweet story. And it is online. I think it's a digital comic. This one might be a Manga Jam comic, so there's at least a couple of chapters online. Back in the day, I had 2 manga that I heartily recommended, but neither of them fully got over here. So one of them was Love My Life by Yamaji Ebene and her follow-up Indigo Blue. Love My Life did make it into movie form, and that did come over here, but you're never going to get, I think, the manga for a lot of reasons. And Iono-sama Fanatics by Fujieda Miyabi. That one came over 1 volume. There's a whole long story one day when we're not online and I'm not videoing. I'll tell you that story. But the bottom line is 1 volume came out in English and then it never did the 2nd volume for lots of reasons. Mostly, in all honesty, because the Yuri audience just simply wasn't big enough at the time. And that's what I told the publisher, that you needed about 4,000 to 5,000 copies of a manga to sell. And we were about 2,500 strong. So it just wasn't big enough yet. And if it came out now, I'm not sure it would be a blockbuster. It's sweet. It's a fantasy series about a queen. It's a harem, Yuri harem series. It's cute. And if you can get the 1st volume of Iono-sama Fanatics, I recommend. There are 2 comics that I want to talk about that I recommended. One of them came out from Sparkler Monthly. It was called Maho Josei Chamaka. And it was cute. It was really, really cute, and it was really sweet. And you probably can get the version of it that came out in print. If not, you can definitely get it online. Sparkler Monthly, if their archives are still somewhere. It was adorable. It was about what happens when a magical girl doesn't save the world, and things don't go the way they ought to, and she ends up being an adult, and what happens. So Maho Josei Chamaka. I really thought that was a cute one. I recommended the webtoon Always Human by Ari North. I still recommend the webtoon Always Human by Ari North. It's complete. There's one volume of it in hardcover and softcover available. Absolutely stunningly beautiful color work, a very lovely story. It was a really nice experience to read that one, and I recommend that one without any reservation. And that's really the issue here, is without reservation. The one anime that I have ever recommended without any reservation, without any conditionals or anything, was Moribito, Guardian of the Spirit. It's not Yuri, but it's fabulous. And the anime is actually better than the books, which I almost never say. The books were good. They were a lot of fun. I read all of them, and all of the reviews of the entire Moribito series are on Okazu. And I think the first of the movies. I don't think I did any of the other live action TV, the movies that came out, but the anime. And it's just been relicensed, and I cannot recommend it enough. Everybody and anybody could watch Moribito. It's just fantastic. It's beautifully animated. It's well written. They added scenes in that make more sense and make the characters work better together. That's something I don't think I've ever seen before. And so if you have not seen Moribito, Guardian of the Spirit, let me please recommend to you to see Moribito, Guardian of the Spirit. It really is genuinely a fantastic story. Terrific characters that all work together, and the animation was good. And the scene that really sold me on this is about 2/3 of the way through the anime. Just about the time where in most animes are losing budget and they're trying to sort of use a lot of repeated footage. There's a scene, and this is a very Erica moment, so you're going to laugh. There's a scene where Balsa, the main character, who is a 30-year-old woman who is a spear-wielding bodyguard. So yeah, that's got all of the checkpoints for Erica. You're going to see a moment where she's cleaning her spear. And the way they do the animation of the spear, there are nicks and notches in the spear. There are scrapes and bits of wear and tear that are different. And if you're not an obsessive blade fanatic like I am, you might not notice the difference, but this spear has seen work. It's seen effort. It has whacked into other things. It has slidden off of other things. It's been chopped into, and you can see the different types of nicks and notches. And for me, that's like a holy shit moment, because nobody ever does that kind of detail, and I care about that kind of thing. So that was the moment where I was totally sold on whatever they do for Moribito, Guardian of the Spirit. I have 2 visual novels on my list. Heart of the Woods by Studio Elan and Kindred Spirits on the Roof. Kindred Spirits on the Roof is one of very, very few visual novels I've gone all the way through, and I'd really like to do it with the voices, but I just don't have the time or attention. It took a long time. It was a lot of content. And the story was really quite good, and it starts off a little weak and gets better and better as it goes along, and by the time it gets to the end, it was brilliant. I can understand why all the Yuri mangaka were playing it. I can understand why they were all doing doujinshi of it. I can understand why they all obsessed about it and did art of it at the time. It was a really good story, and it's a really good visual novel as far as that goes. It kept my attention for a very long visual novel. And Heart of the Woods by Studio Elan, which came out relatively recently, and I believe it also has, both of these have voiced versions. Heart of the Woods is beautiful. It didn't hold my attention, but that doesn't mean it isn't really worth recommending, because I'm not the audience for visual novels. As I've said many, many, many times, Studio Elan actually created a gaming engine, just to create their visual novels, and they have done genuinely fantastic work with it. I am so blown away, and I wish visual novels were more interesting to me, because Heart of the Woods, the first part, I did the whole thing, and it left on a cliffhanger, and I was like, wow. But almost immediately thereafter, I just didn't have time. So if you're a visual novel person and you haven't done the Studio Elan stuff, I definitely recommend Heart of the Woods. It's unique and interesting, so definitely give that a try. And Kindred Spirits on the Roof, just because it's sort of the definitive Yuri visual novel of its time. And then the last 2 things that I have heartily recommended, and I realize there's something missing on this list, the last 3 things that I've heartily recommended, one of them is a film. It was a recent film, Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Very beautiful film. It's filmed with ASMR, so all the sound is very soft, and you don't get loud, just jarring, distracting noises. It was very easy to watch. I thought it was very beautiful. It's not a happy movie, but it is a very good movie, and it's only not happy because of the time and period in which it was filmed. I actually thought it was really good. I would recommend that without reservation. And then I have 2 books that I want to recommend, and when we get to the last one, you'll laugh at me. But right now, the next one, this probably fell under the radar. It's Provenance by Ann Leckie. It's a one-shot story. It's a space caper story. It was really fun and really lighthearted, and the girl gets the girl, and really, who doesn't love a caper movie? So, caper story, excuse me. I recommend this one. It was just, if you just want something to read, no brain is needed, and you can just enjoy the thinkies, or the no thinkies, really, the gender neutrality of it, and just a really, really lovely story by a woman who's a good writer. So that one's good. And then, of course, I'm going to recommend Gideon the Ninth and Harrow the Ninth. That is with recommendation, but the reality is, if you're a reader of mine, you will love this story, and I don't see how you could possibly be a reader of mine and not love a really vulgar lesbian sword-fighting necromancer in space. I kind of don't see how you could be an ongoing reader of mine and not love that, but I'm going to recommend Gideon the Ninth and Harrow the Ninth, just because they are spectacular. And yeah, they're kind of gross a little bit, but you'll get over it. Anyway, so the reason I wanted to do today's video is not at all about these recommendations. I want to practice my transitions on video editing, and so I want to tell you some of the tools I'm using. Like everybody else, I'm using Audacity for sound editing. That one is like a Photoshop. You can do so much knowing very little. And even with that little, you can really get away with a tremendous amount. So Audacity, Photoshop for my visual graphic design, and my wife mostly does the graphic design that you'll see. And then I want to play with this tool that I'm using right now. It's called VSDC. You've seen me talk about it on Twitter and maybe on the Discord. Again, like Photoshop and like Audacity, even if you know almost nothing, you can do a lot. It's a free tool, and the free tool is as good as the Pro tool. I paid the $20 for the Pro tool because it was such a great tool, I wanted to give it money. And it's as simple as that. So VSDC, if you're looking for a video editing software that will make you look like you're more talented than you are, which is basically all the things I do visually and auditorily. Everything I do is like, make me look like I'm almost semi-competent. That's the rule. So this is a really short video, and I don't really have anything else to say, but I just wanted to thank you all again and tell you about my tools and practice my transitions and overlays, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.